I know we're not in Hawaii, but aloha. Thank you. It's a great word. It's a word that cannot be said angrily. But this is a setup, so maybe I should be a little angry. What am I doing out here? I'm supposed to make the case for women, peace, and security, for inclusive security, when the case has already been made articulately by many women and a few men. So I'm going to talk about why it is my top priority in my job at Daniel K. Inouye Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies, and kind of the so what I think you can do about it. The why is really simple. It's stupid not to. It's a truth I hold self-evident, that a security community and a society that includes its whole population, invests its whole population in responding to disasters and countering crime, in preventing violent extremism, in defending against internal and external threats, will be safer and more secure. How could it not be? It's a truth that I hold self-evident, that a group that includes women and men, or men and women, in either order, is going to be more energetic, more innovative, and more insightful in recognizing problems with security and crafting solutions. I just believe these. And I believe that all of the elements of 1325 can be addressed practically, meaningfully, on a daily basis by people like you and me. So how do we do that? You've heard the make women matter, include them as security makers. Okay? There's more to it than that, and there are more simple steps. You've got to prepare the battlefield or the peace field, whichever it is. You've got to enable it, you've got to overcome barriers. But here are some of the things that I've seen have worked in our world in Asia Pacific as part of the US Department of Defense. About 3 years ago, we nearly doubled the participation of women in our program after an initial cohort as part of the Women, Peace, and Security program. We've continued to do that. We've brought curricula instruction into our courses on inclusive security, and we've encouraged fellows projects, the work of our fellows as we call our students, that directly address inclusion issues. What's been the outcome of that? The outcome has been that in one South Asian country, a broadcaster came through and 28 days after she graduated from our course, was already broadcasting a series of on national television on the role of women in conflict. And within a month or two of that, she was drafted by their deputy prime minister to provide inclusion education to every police chief in the country. A Northeast Asian military officer, a fighter pilot, made inclusion of women in his Air Force a priority and is on the verge of producing the first female fighter pilots in their Air Force. Now, that may, fighter pilot, peace and security, that may sound contradictory, but it's part of the path to broader security leadership, and they've got to be in the arena. Another officer from a Southeast Asian country this time, an Army officer, a very traditional Army officer, found his introduction to WPS so life-changing that he took a project back not just to bring women into the Army, but address the role of women in the entire society. Okay, these are young individuals who just took it with encouragement, with education, took it on to address inclusive security in a practical and effective manner. Now, if you knew which countries they were, and we kind of Chatham House Rules things, so I won't mention them. If you knew which countries they were, you probably wouldn't expect that they'd be successful. But let me tell you that the field is more fertile than you think. 3 weeks ago, I served as the moderator for the Pacific Command Commanders gathering of chiefs of defense from all around the region, nations big and small. Now, I will stipulate that they were all men, right now, for now. But when I gave them my talk on WPS and UNSCR 1325 and all the supporting components of that, do you think I got any pushback? No, not a word. In a very open and frank environment, every single representative had something to say and something positive and supportive to say. These leaders, these male, very senior leaders, understand the value and understand that it's stupid not to have an inclusive approach to security. If you don't, you won't be as secure as you can. If you don't, you won't have insight to the problems, challenges, and solutions that are out there. If you don't, and if you don't have that significant segment of your society invested in its own security, they'll invest elsewhere. And we talked about that in our roundtable, our global security hack, it was called this morning, on countering violent extremism. They will take their passion elsewhere. I've come to believe in my work at the Daniel K. Inouye Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies that there's been a significant transition in the global population over the last few years. And for several centuries, the passion of humankind was centered largely around liberty, the notion of being free, because most people weren't. And that notion of liberty manifested itself differently in different places, but it was still there. Guess what? The world is now a pretty free place, comparatively. Even over the last 20 years, it's become more free. People need an outlet for their passion. What's the passion for now? In my estimation, it's a passion for good governance. They've become passionate about wanting their government to work, wanting their government to know their needs and address their needs in an inclusive manner. And you can't do that if you don't take an inclusive approach to security. So I hope you'll leave this 2 hours. You were already bought into the idea, or you most likely wouldn't be here. So maybe you'll buy in more. Maybe we've all made the case. More importantly, I'd like you to leave here obsessed with doing something about it. Obsessed with doing something about it. Because you can, and it's stupid not to. Thank you.